Hey guys, Jay here, and I'm back. I want to make this video, to follow up with the previous video that I've made around the AFK Pathfinder gem choices. And in this video, in particular, I'll be talking, in depth into just gear. And then after this video, I'm gonna make a video just, basically a guide from start to finish, what kind of budget or what kind of gear that you should have before you want to switch to this character. Basically, because this is a castman stun character, and it requires certain pieces of gear, certain pieces of gems and mechanic to work together to even function. So you cannot really start to do leveling through campaign and early map with this. Maybe I would recommend switch to it around level 70 at the very least, but that's not the point of this video. It is going to be around the gear choices of this particular version of the Castwind stunt build. And so I will go through the quite obvious stuff first, and then what, I will go to the most asked question first, and then I go to the very obvious stuff later. So the probably more important information is in the beginning of the video. And so let's start. So, well, the most question that I have received so far regarding to gear around this character is around this gear slot, which I am currently wearing the Doppelganger's guise. So, just to set everything straight here, Cloak of Flame is best in slot. It's kind of best in slot, right? You have Cloak of Flame. It's very obvious, to help mitigate the physical damage, especially physical hit that you can take. If you just put the Cloak of Flame in the POE, you will see your effective hit pool against physical damage go up. If you put this Doppelganger's guys in, right, and you stay in the sane form, so you have 27%. In this case, you can have up to 40%. Less physical and chaos damage taken. With this chest, you will have way more hit pool against the chaos damage, right? Let me actually bring up the POE. I think that'll be helpful. Building here. I think it'll be helpful. 1 second. I would just go for the Endgame Pathfinder version. Alright. Items. Doppelganger's guys here. Second. Let me actually D&D after this one. Sorry, this happens all the time. I always forget to put on D&D. This is such an unprofessional behavior, but hey, it's also unprofessional to just ignore the traits. Thank you. D&D. Okay, now we can focus on the video. Okay. So Doppelganger's guys and Cloak of Flame here. Here are the two chests that I would want. And I believe the best choices in the endgame version for me, I think for the content that this build is designed to do, is still Doppelganger's guys. Why? The Doppelganger's guys that you can see here, if I put it here, right, you see the Chaos max hit, Fizz max hit over here. I put Cloak of Flame. It changed a little bit, so you have more physical max hit, less Chaos max hit. The problem is, even with this amount of physical max hit, you can still take, almost everything that is thrown at you at the content that you normally want to do. For example, Simulacrum. This is like the original content that I made this build to do, which is the Simulacrum. And this is enough to handle Simulacrum. So I prefer Doppelganger's guys for one reason. Because Doppelganger's guys is way better than Cloak of Flame in terms of mitigating damage over time. The Cloak of Flame, as you can see here, right, it has 40% of physical damage taken as fire, and this applied to damage over time as well. So it helps to mitigate with the physical damage over time, because when it's converted to fire, it also is resisted by the fire resistance. So it does help a little bit with some kind of fist degen, physical degen. But doppelgangers, guys, just apply to chaos as well, and there's a lot of chaos degen. There's quite a lot of things that is degen that I don't even exactly know what they are. But yeah, less damage taken here applies to degen and hit, so that is very, very good in my opinion. Second, regenerate 10% life over 1 second when hit. Why sane? This basically is 10% regen, and regen is direct counter to degen, right? So that is very, very obvious why it is very good against damage over time. And from my own experience, when I have everything set up, I kind of am more vulnerable towards damage over time than to hits. If you don't have like the sufficient setup, if you don't have all the gear set up, everything well put together, then you may still die to one shot from, for example, Cosis, or just something random in maps that you do, especially tier 17. But when you have everything properly set up, then damage over time is way more dangerous compared to just hit damage, in my opinion, for this build. Because with a amount of hit pool like this one, for example, you're well equipped enough to deal with a lot of hits in the game. Do not take the big boy slams. That is too obvious. That is all I say. And normally those kind of slams are in bosses, and this build is not made to do bosses anyway, so don't even worry about them, right? Alright, so the gear. I will talk about the low budget version first. This in the POE here is the very high budget version with original sin, right? So the low budget version, I would say this is the low budget version. And I will actually go ahead and remove this. Forbidden Jewels. So basically, okay, let's go through the minimum thing that we should have, right? For starter, if you want to use this dagger, then the best corruption is to increase damage over time, and as you can see here, it is quite decently expensive, I would say, but you can just use a normal one, a non-corrupted one, before you can afford this. So don't worry about this one. These two are, very, very obvious, because our skill that we are choosing is Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction, which deals only fire damage, and we want to convert them to chaos, because there's no way to convert them to physical, and physical and chaos damage are the two kinds of damage that naturally can do poison, and we want to do poison damage with the Pathfinder here because we have a lot of synergy with poison. And so Consuming Dart, I am having 2 of them. So 60% of the converted damage is to chaos, and then that can then be poison. If you have 2 of these, then you have 60% chaos of the base damage converted to chaos, and you also have more than 100% of that chaos damage to poison. So you are well equipped on that end. But if you are not tanky enough, I would recommend you to, initially, just when you do easier content, you don't need a lot of damage, then you can use a Dawnbreaker shield over here. That is like the bare minimum version, a non-corrupted Consuming Dart, which is 1 chaos, and also a shield, that is the Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker is this shield over here, right? Dawnbreaker Colossal Tower Shield. Without the corruption, of course, right? Then that will be like the bare minimum. On the Dawnbreaker, the only thing you care about is the roll for physical converted to fire. The cold or lightning, you don't care about that. Yeah, but this is the current version, that is the mid-budget, and the comfortable version, in my opinion. You would like to have 2 Consuming Dart, because that is just way more damage for this build. because we convert more of the fire damage to chaos, so we have more consistent poison. So is the 40% leftover fire damage wasted? Well, in this case, no, because in most cases, why I use this boot is, first of all, for the Grasping Vine, which is basically 1% less damage taken per stack. You can have up to 10 stack with this boot, and you can have another 10 stack with this Nature's Patient. But with this boot, you can have extra 10 stack, and that means extra 10% less damage taken, which is very good for tanky build, right? But another reason is when the enemies nearby is stationary, which means they do not move. They can be attacking you or casting something, or they just are not moving. Then they will receive a Grasping Vine per 0.5 second. That is Grasping Vine on them, right? So for 1.5 second, they will be getting 3 Grasping Vine. And all damage can inflict poison against enemies affected by at least 3 Grasping Vine. So after 1.5 seconds of standing still, that is the enemy standing still, because you also stand still, so normally most of the enemies in the game will just stand still and attack you. So they will be Grasping Vine, and then that means all the damage can then poison the enemy. So this is just too consuming dark. It's just better in terms of damage if the enemies is not stand still long enough. But in the case of the low budget, where you don't have them ready already, you use one shield, you just have one consuming dart, that is still okay. In case when you fight like tougher target, you have to stand still for a little bit, then after 1.5 second, they will probably just get damaged by just get poisoned by all your damage, including fire damage, of course, which is the main damage that we are dealing. When you are tanky enough with all the other gear, then 2 consuming darts is just straight better, because you immediately deals a lot more damage instead of having to wait 1.5 seconds. So that is also the reason why I use this boot, and I keep this until before the final version, the end game version, where our gear is so much better. We have original sin to convert every single bit of elemental damage into chaos. And so we no longer need this special thing. And yeah, this is like a poor man version of original sin, basically, in my opinion. And I found it to be very helpful. And also, this is 1 chaos, right? So very cheap. The ring, Valerium, I would say in this version, you should try to get the cannot be ignited. That would be very, very good in this ring slot for Valerium. Why? Because cannot be ignited cannot be used with the Chieftain Fulcrum version. The Chieftain Fulcrum version is popularized by Tuna, and maybe I think right now Tripolar Bear still playing it. So there are streamers who played the Fulcrum before, and so they popularized the use of Valerium. So the cannot bleed, cannot poison is relatively expensive, but cannot ignite actually counteract the Fulcrum version. The Fulcrum need to ignite themselves, so they cannot take this. So it's quite cheap. It's like 10 chaos, 50 chaos. I'm not sure after this video if there is enough people who buy out the market for that. Then it will be more expensive. But well, if you see this one, I would recommend you to have it. It is a very, very nice way to deal with ignite, basically. And we don't want to take damage over time in any circumstances. We need to minimize the chance for us to take the damage over time. And of course, the Valerium, we have it here for the stun threshold is based on energy shield instead of life. So we can get stunned like consistently because we have very, very minimal shield. Normally, right, in the version before, I have a natural instinct here and I have agnostic here. So it looks a little bit different, right? I am taking out them to test something, but just so you know, if you have a lot more energy shield, you would take agnostic and your energy shield is 0, and you will always get stunned by the, smallest hit possible. But currently, I think 300 here, I'm still feeling that I get stunned all the time, right? So it's okay. So the reason for Valerium here is obvious, and the best corruption for it, because the normal implicit is increased energy shield is bad for this build. So yeah, you would want some kind of corruption. Just try to remove that energy shield. Basically, you know, whatever you get is better than that, and of course cannot be ignited is my recommendation for this slot. If it becomes expensive, you know, don't worry about it. You can deal with ignite somewhere else. Next one, Defiance of Destiny. I'm going through the unique items first. Defiance of Destiny is here for a very obvious reason. It's the best defensive amulet in the game. At some point in this league, it was like 80 divine. Right now, it is much more affordable. As you can see here, it dropped all the way to, you know, like I would say 5 divine here, a lot of them. And you know, I am very happy about this one because that means way more people can actually afford to try this kind of build. Because Defiance of Destiny is absolutely best in slot if you have it, and if you don't have it, those feels like you are playing like two kind of different character. With Defiance of Destiny, you are basically immortal to like 90% of things in the game. Without it, well, you are dead to 90% of things in the game. That's just everything I want to say about Defiance of Destiny. It just mechanically is just too strong for anything that doesn't truly one-shot you with a single hit, right? And that is a hit, right? Of course, damage over time doesn't hit and will still kill you through Defiance Destiny. But with this build, normally you will get hit all the time, right? So this one is very obvious. The next unique item in this build is the Ties of Time. And this is a very nice spell. This is a very nice addition to the game. This is like the poor man version of Mage Blood, right? What you try to get is Utility Flask can gain 3 charges every 3 seconds. You know what? Let me actually try to build the trade just to get a live price. Okay, so the only thing you care about in this belt is the Utility Flask gain however many charges every 3 seconds, and apparently currently it is 3 divine, around 3 divine, which is very cheap. I got this one at the point where it is 5 divine, and by the way, this is now 5 divine roughly. I got it for 40. So yeah, you guys are lucky. If you want to try this build now, it is time. It is a very good time indeed. The gear, the bare minimum requirement for this build to work is actually getting so much cheaper. Oh, by the way, this chest, shit. This chest, right, without corruption, I would say, let's see, right? This is with this roll, at least 38. So yeah, around 2 divine to 3 divine for this one. I mean, if you are, you know, very limited, but just get a random rolled Cloak of Flame, right? Used it. I mean, you can use it until the end game. It is debatably still exactly as strong as this one, so you can use the Cloak of Flame. It also have a lot more resistances, so it eased up on hearing as well. This is, in my opinion, a more endgame choice, without being actually stronger than the Cloak of Flame, as I explained it earlier. But yeah, this Flask, along with the Pathfinder Natural's Adrenaline, give you 6 charges for every utility flask that you have, and these are all utility flasks. This is a Amethyst Flask, by the way. It's just an MTX that I got earlier, so I used it. It looks kind of nice, so I like it. And, you know, if you look here, right, it is 100% uptime all the time. Maybe this flask is a little bit less than 100% uptime because it has a very bad roll of increased charge recovery, only tier 5. But if it has, for example, just a slightly better, or much better in this case, right, it will just sustain infinitely without having to kill anything. And while you are, you know, mapping or you are doing any content, normally you also have 100% uptime of the sulfur flask over here. So yeah, this is the bare minimum. It's just normal flask, right? I don't do something fancy. I actually keep all of these magic flasks. I didn't include Progenesis, and I actually can AFK the Simulacrum, you know, decently well. Not too impressive, but decently well. For 5 magic flasks. And so this belt plus the Pathfinder is quite insane. It just sustains all the flasks. And if you put in a Progenesis here, it will also sustain infinitely with like 20% duration roll or something like that. That would be enough, right? If it is a little bit short, you can always get more charges, right? Increased charge gain, right? Those kind of things can just, you know, you can stack a little bit of them, or you can tattoo increased flask duration or something like that. It will increase the uptime of the flask. And also, normally, if you want to, these can be like the roll of gain 2 to 3 charges when enemy hit you, which also will 100% give you 100% uptime of flask whenever you fight monster. I just want this to look nice right now in the hideout, so I use this one. But in, you know, practice, then the gain charge on hit will be better, right? Let me go to here. I believe, yeah, gain 3 charges when you hit by an enemy. This is like the best thing that you can get on the flask, in my opinion, because we always try to get hit a lot of times, right? So the other gear, this one is very self-explanatory. It is just a helmet. What we prioritize is, first of all, most important is actually a lot of life, as much life as possible. Second, the physical damage from hits taken as an element, and it should be lightning or fire. It should not be cold. Well, I don't want to explain it again, but here it is again. A cold hit or a physical hit that is taken to cold, if it roll a crit, then that means the hit can actually freeze you, and it will freeze you. If that hit is, you know, rolled to freeze your character, even if you are immune to freeze, that hit will have no ability to actually stun your character, so it will not trigger the cast when stun. That is just how the game works. Okay, so I did it again. Right, just remember, physical taken as lightning, fire, or even in this case, you can see in the implicit here, chaos is okay for this build, because we actually have a lot of chaos hit pool over here with this chest. So chaos is actually very good. And yeah, some resistances, if you can, of course, to cap out the resistances. We do have a little bit over cap resistant here, so, you know, it's doable, right? Next one is the ring. Probably I would like some intelligence here. We do need 159 of each attribute to be able to wear all the gems that we have chosen here, and you know, that is just the bare minimum. And everything else you can just, you know, tattoo. Like for example, in this case, I tattoos like 11 points of dexterity into suppression, which, you know, release a lot of pressure on gear and passive. Right, so try to get intelligence and life resistant. Very simple ring. With this league, with corpse crafting, you can have a lot of crazy shit going on with the rare gear. With just life and resistant is so easy to do, actually. The glove, right, still life resistant. Intelligence, I am having a little bit too much. I can have like 30 less intelligence, but this one I craft myself. So I bought the base. I used the essence of spite for intelligence, and I just spam a few of them until I get a tier 1 life, and then I craft another resistant. That's just that simple, right? Very easy to do. The base is like 1 divine for 24% cast resistant here, maybe 23, 22 is okay. You don't need, exactly 75% chaos rest. All right, let me see. Okay, so we have went through all the gear. I want to explain a little bit of the flasks as well, because the flasks are very important. With a build that you have 100% uptime of the flask, then that means we can rely on the flask to do a lot of things. And first is reduction of freeze duration and chill effect. With this and all the flask effect that we have with the Pathfinder and some on the skill tree as well, with this roll, anything above 60%, I am immune to freeze and chill with this. The same thing here, I am, kind of immune to curse with this one as well. I didn't need to roll it very high because this one dropped a consecrated ground, and consecrated ground by default give you 50% reduced effect of curse on them and some regen, right? So with this roll, I am immune to curse. If you don't have a sulfur flask, if you want to do another flask, this one just get it over 60%. This should be quite easy, and you will get immune to curses. And this one give me immune to shock. And reduced effect of shock is so much better than avoid being shocked, because reduced effect of shock, while you still can be shocked, it will be 0%. If you stand on the shock round, it will still be 0%. So basically that is so much better than avoid being shocked, because avoid being shocked, if you are on the shock round, you still take the full effect of the shock, right? And yeah, the flask bases are basically all resistances. This is ruby, topaz, sapphire, amethyst. So I have a lot of resistances on the flask because they are up 100% of the time. Then it is very reliable to do so with the Pathfinder, with this setup, with the Tides of Time, those kind of thing. If you have a Progenesis, you put in the slot for this one here. As you can see, currently I don't. This one is also having freeze duration, just exactly like this one. So just put a Progenesis here. Right? You don't need to worry about it. And in the end game, you also don't need the increased block and stun recovery during flash effect. Why do I have it here? Because I am having a rather bad roll on Immutable Force. Immutable Force, ideally you should need 961% stun and block recovery. So if you are not getting the budget to buy the high roll one, you also have a flash slot over here, right? Just do it for block and stun recovery. That is very good. So basically with these two, right, and increased flash effect on this, of course, then you have the threshold. Just basically try to make this number go over 961, and that means you can always cast, you can always be stunned like once every frame. That is our goal here, right? Let me see. So we are done with the flask. Of course, in the end game, there will be two unique flasks here, which is the sulfur flask is going to be Bottle of Faith, and the amethyst flask is going to be Progenesis. They are going to be very strong in the end game version, of course. Okay, so the jewels. This is a very important part of this build. I'm going to talk about this one in particular. I'm going to address this. This one, well, I bought it because it was very cheap. For one divine, I got this one. Right now, not only do they are like almost wiped from the market, the price is absolutely insane. I don't think this is that valuable in my opinion, just because the supply is so limited. Just take it out of the build, put a rare jewel in here with like maximum life, poison damage, chance to poison damage over time, or multiplier, things like that. Just improve your damage. That is just exactly the same. This is nice, but I don't think we need it, right? In fact, I would just list this one for. Jeez. Jeez. Holy. Let's just list this for something crazy. Just leave it here, right? Man, I'm a terrible person. All right. That is the first roll out of the way. This one, you only need this roll, and you don't need the roll to be anything. Just try to have one with this. This is like probably the most expensive core item currently in the build, because it is 6 to 7 divine, 8 divine something here. I think this is the most expensive core item of the build. You need to have this one. Funny how it is now even more expensive than the Defiance of Destiny. We are unlucky because this league, the Vitality Jewel with Life Gain on hit, is used by another build that is very, very meta. That is the Cast on Crit, Detonate Damage and Reaction build by Rutu, Ventura. You know, a lot of people are playing that build, and they also use this kind of Watcher's Eye, and that is why it is quite expensive. Normally, previous leagues, it's like 1 divine something, but, you know, unfortunately, for this build in particular, I would say this jewel is absolutely mandatory. You need this roll. You need the life per enemy hit while affected by vitality. It can be the minimum roll, it doesn't matter because we hit so many times, but it's just so strong for recovery for this build as we hit so many times with all the proc that we are having. So this is the most expensive one. So I would say the budget, 7 divine for this. Let's just say 7 divine. 5 divine for this, so that is 12. This one, Immutable Force, you can get something just a little bit over 800, right? And you can start the build, but later, if you want to, you need to have 961%, which is not too bad, right? But for the budget, right, just get anything, you know, along this line, and you can already start the build. This is say 60 chaos. I would say it is 70 chaos. Say half a divine. So 12.5 divine. Next mandatory item. This one, well, as high as possible, but this one is actually very cheap right now. So let's say half a divine, right? Let me see. Oh. Okay. 57%, like 3 off max roll. Let's say half a divine. So this combo is 1 divine, that is 13 divine. This is 3, so that is 16. These rare, let's say 2 divine each, and that means 20. 1 chaos, 1 chaos, 1 chaos. Technically, like let's say a divine for this. 2 rings, right? 21 divine. I would say 25 to 30 divine is the starting point that you should be having before you want to start this character, right? Everything else is quite cheap. This jewel is actually quite cheap as well. You either have it or you either bought it directly from the market. Yep, it is still very cheap. It's like one of the cheapest combo that you can have. Touch of Priority, Touch of Cruelty for the explosion, or for the more damage taken on hinder, unspeakable gift for the explosion for more clear, and this one is just a dead note. We don't need it. It is not bad, but we don't need it, right? We don't want the ignore interruption from stun for any reason, because we already basically ignore it. Yeah. Explode. Right. Let me see if there's anything else. Is that all the jewels? Yeah, I think it is all the jewels. This one is Nature's Patient, right? This one is very cheap. Dead cheap, right? 30 chaos. This one is just for Corrupted Blood. I would say you want Corrupted Blood, and ideally reduce the effect of shock just a little bit. But you don't even need this one for maximum shock, so just try to get one that is Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you, and try to find some stat that is actually beneficial for the build, like chaos damage, fire damage, damage over time in this case, right? Is there anything else? Life, those kind of things, right? Just anything, but you want Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you. Definitely, because you hit a bunch of time and you are afraid of damage over time, so you need to be immune to corrupted blood. I would value this very, very highly for one slot. Right, because we remove 3 of the unique jewels. If you have them, they are nice. If you don't have them, then whatever. So these will be more rare jewels, just live, let's say live poison damage and poison champs. I think that is the best step. And by the way, in the endgame and endgame version, you can remove this whole section, right? Get all this passive, get the cluster here, get the cluster here. I have seen people do it. They can do the adorned with even like 5 passive voices, which is like 2 divine each, which is not too bad. 5 passive voices is already enough to set up an adorned setup, and you have a lot of jewel sockets, right? So 3 per cluster. So basically you have a lot of life. I have seen people push like 9k, 10k life with the adorned setup. That is absolutely insane. You don't really need to get agnostic in my testing, right? At least for the harder content, because they hit harder. So if the hit is harder, it can stun you through this energy shield, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay, is there anything else on the gear that I need to mention? I need to verify it one more time, just to make sure. Yeah, I probably say nothing. One little bit of thing that I want to mention, right? It's about the balancing between ignite, poison, and bleeding. I would talk about this again in the build guide video after this, but I want to talk about this one first, so it's easier for you guys to set up the gear. Basically, for the Valerium here, I would recommend the cannot be ignited because it's the cheapest one. If for some reason the cannot bleed or cannot be poisoned is cheaper, you can get those. Currently, I am having cannot be ignited here, and I'm dealing with bleed with the armor and evasion mastery over here. So immune to bleeding if equipped helmet has higher armor than evasion rating. This one has more armor than evasion, so I'm immune to bleeding. And for poison, of course, I am using the Sword of Shakari. So not immune, but I can only take 3 stacks of poison, and poison is an element that, if it got stacked a lot, then you get a lot of damage. With 3 stack, it's okay. You can deal with it. You have recovery to deal with it. So this is a way I'm dealing with poison. There is another way to deal in the Pantheon. So we have the less duration of ignite on you, right? If you have here, and then maybe you have like 1 or 2 rolls on a rare jewel, you have a lot of slot for rare jewel, right? For reduced ignite duration, then you can have this. You also have unaffected by burning ground, which is very, very good. Currently, we are not having any way to deal with burning ground like directly. We just deal with it because we walk through it and we have resistant and we have some regen, but immune to it is still pretty nice. So you can have rare jewel with reduced, like 2 rare jewels with reduced duration to ignite, and the ignite on you will last like 0.1 second or something, which basically is nothing. That is a way to deal with ignite. If you have like immune to poison here, you can remove this, you can take this, right? That is another way. Or you can just get like 3 jewel of the reduced ignite duration, and that will be like 100 or close to 100%. That is also good enough. I would say bleeding is the most restrictive one, because normally I would get it from here. It is very, very, first of all, cheap and convenient. But if you want to, you can do this, right? It's not technically dealing with bleeding, but it still reduced the dangerousness, the danger of bleeding, basically. So yeah, but I would recommend to get bleeding from here, and poison or ignited from here and the Pantheon, right? So that is the thing that I'm trying to talk about. And yeah, that is everything I want to talk about in this particular video. I'm going to be releasing at least 1 more video on this character. It is going to be a full build guide, basically aiming at the bare minimum version that you can start to try this out, and then from that point you can always improve based on what you like to do, and yeah, try to AFK the content that you want, basically. It's probably I would say the current state of this character is the base that you would want to have before you want to like sort of AFK content. I have done this one a lot with Ultimatum, which was pretty good. I did some Inscribe Ultimatum on stream, like double the 4 divine one, double the 8 divine one. You know, some were very sketchy with the rune. It was very fun. I had to run away from the rune. The monster do not kill me or, you know, do damage to me, but if we get hit by the rune, so we still need to run around, which is pretty fun, I would say. But it's doable. And yeah, just you can improve based on that. My build guide is going to be for, you know, a more, you know, approachable budget for this build, for the very early version focus, because once you get the early version going, I mean, it is very easy and straightforward to upgrade. Oh, yes, there is one more thing I want to talk about in the Endgame version here, because we have the original sin, so we don't need the boots. So the boots can be a rare boots, can be very nice, a lot more, you know, life resistant, something like that. And of course the I forgot the Exarch and Eater implicit. You obviously do not get all of these as in your implicit, but you know, just choose some of them. If you need more tankiness, get the sap ground. That is extra tankiness because the enemies deals less damage. If you need more damage, poison inflict your damage 10% faster. Right? Let me see. I would say I would like to craft a rare sceptre for the end game for this version. This is going to be the last part of the video, because the end game version, right? Because we have the original sin, so all the damage is already converted into chaos damage. So we can actually remove the consuming dart, and we can put back the Dawnbreaker for extra tankiness. And because we don't need the consuming dart anyway, so the best weapon for this is actually going to be a rare item. It's going to be a scepter, right? Scepter, and it's going to be one of the not suffering. Where is the elemental overload ones? Equilibrium, no. I thought I saw. Sorry, I forgot the name of the elemental overload. Oh, here. Oscillating scepter, yes. Let's create this one, right? So the best thing you can have here is all spell skill gem. Probably all fire skill gem as well. Yeah, all fire skill gem as well. Or you can also have the fire damage to spell. That is okay as well. Increased fire damage. Right, this is very good. This one is going to be damage over time multiplier. No, not burning damage. Not fire damage over time multiplier. This is not good. There should be like another. Let me see. And you know, I think they're still crafted. Yeah, I think they're still crafted. There is a craft. Implicit corrupts. Add modifier here. Crafting bench. Time multiplier. Yep. Yeah, you could craft this one, for example, right? And the other suffix is, you know, I think none of these are actually too good. I would say crit chance for spell is probably good because it improved the chance for you to proc the elemental overload, so it increased the damage of the detonate dead chain reaction. And yeah, add to build. Let's see. All right. For some reason, it is reducing the full DPS. This is so dumb, man. I mean, I think this is probably something that is wrong with the configuration. Let me see. Have you crit recently or something like that? There must be something. There must be something. Yeah, there must be something like that because previously we don't have the elemental overload in the build, and so yeah. Oh, and also on the skills, because we need to change this around, so deadly element is actually not good. Holy shit. Okay, I see the problem. The problem is we are losing a lot of chance to poison. Yeah. If we have the chance to poison, we already reached like dot cap, right? So yeah, we need to solve that somehow, maybe with some adorned jewel, right? Chance to poison with rare jewels, and I said earlier, you have enough chance to poison, then that would just be like way better in terms of damage. Yeah, I forgot one thing that we lose on the dagger that I didn't make up for in this POE, which is the chance to poison. But yeah, basically, you need to have like 40% more chance to poison from the rare jewels, which is not hard to get. One jewel can have like 8% already, so that is quite easy to have, especially if you do a adorned setup. I will try to make an adorned version, as in POB only, in the build guide. But yeah, that is everything I want to say in this video. I think I already covered every single gear slot and every single choice of items. Forbidden flesh. Oh, okay. So, actually, there's one more thing. For the endgame version, right, you have the forbidden flesh and flame here. In the endgame version, because the gear is so much better, we have cap suppress without the need of the quartz infusion. So we can actually use a different forbidden jewel, and the best forbidden jewel is going to be Way the Poacher, right? It is going to be this node over here. So you have frenzy charges. This is going to be 4 frenzy charge. You have this node 5. If you can remove this section and you have enough point from changing all this area, you can change the setup into like one more frenzy charge over here, more here, right? And just move. Let's say you move everything from here. You can move everything from the blood magic, and then you put on 2 more cluster over here for adorn. You can have 7 maximum frenzy charges, which is 28% more damage. So yeah, that is basically the most amount of damage you can get from the forbidden jewel if you choose to. If you don't, you know what, just save this 2 for the adorned jewels. That might be even better, because we already are at like dot cap. If you get the adorn in here, you probably are even more than dot cap. So yeah, that is everything I want to mention in this video. It is quite long already. I'm going to be releasing another video on this character, which is going to be the build guide for the character, how you should set up the character in order for it to function. And yeah, stay tuned for it if you think this is helpful. I'm sorry, it has been quite a long video, a lot of information, but I hope it helps somewhere. And yeah, see you in the next video. Probably gonna be for tomorrow. Yeah, it's gonna be released tomorrow for the build guide. And peace. Oh, consider to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.